All right. Howdy, everyone. Thanks for joining. This is the eManifest January 2022 edition of the monthly webinar series. As a reminder, these meetings are being recorded, so if you do come on and or leave something in the chat, make sure to keep it family appropriate. We still have some people trickling in, but I think we'll go ahead and get started. So on the docket for today, we have the usual submission update I'll cover, and then I'll hand the mic over to Tamu to give an update on the advisory board. After that, Tess is going to talk about the eManifest third rule, as well as the new bulletin that was published. And Steve's going to wrap things up with an update on Log4j, debit card payments, and security updates. So the total submissions as of 2 days ago, we're about 6.37 million manifest. Electronic is currently hovering around anywhere between 0.35 to 5.6-ish%. So we've received about 5.2 million data plus image manifest, and electronic is still coming in at about 22,000. Going over the past 30 days or so, we're receiving similar manifest counts as we normally do. Past month, we received about 143,000 manifest, of which about 0.36% was electronic. So a little lower than we've been for the past few months, but a lot of that's just timing. So, all right, so with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tamu to talk about the eManifest Advisory Board. Tamu, if you're there. I'm not seeing her in the participants list, so I'll go ahead and give this a brief summary. So the eManifest, the agency, we announced that we were looking for nominations for the eManifest Advisory Board for a 3-year membership. This nomination period ended on January 13th of this year, and we're currently still evaluating the candidate pool. If you'd like to stay up to date and see who is selected for the advisory board, make sure you're subscribed to eManifest-subscribe at list.epa.gov, which I'm sure many of you already are. All right, and with that, I'm going to hand it over to Tess to talk about the eManifest upcoming proposed third rule.
Thanks, David. Hi, everyone. So as we've talked about for a couple times on the past webinars, we are expecting to publish a proposed rule, but we're getting very close to the finish line for review, so we expect it to be published in the next week or two, in early February, and this would propose... I just got a bad network quality warning, so hopefully you guys can all still hear me, but I'll keep going ahead. This would propose regulatory changes to incorporate the hazardous waste export manifests and other manifest-related reports into the eManifest system, revise manifest forms so that the manifest data for import and export shipments can be recorded more clearly, revise some requirements regarding exception, discrepancy, and unmanifested waste reports, and make technical and conforming changes for other regulations, including the PCB regulations under TSCA. Oh, and that will have a 60-day comment period when it is ultimately published, so you can submit public comments then. Our December bulletin came out at the end of December in 2021, so be sure to check that out. It's a couple pages and it goes through our public meetings, advisory board nominations, updated eManifest functionality, some feature pieces, and more. So please be sure to check that out on our website. I'll pass it over to Steve.
All right, yeah, getting my bad network quality is spread to my house as well. All right, here's the camera on. All right, everybody, just Yeah, this is Steve. Thanks. Happy 2022. Just want to give you guys a quick sort of overall update about some things going on with the system that are certainly our responsibility, but are responses to events that are out of our control. So first of all is Log4j. Now this Log4j popped up right around the holidays and was sort of a big deal in the news, and then it fell out. But for those of us in who work with computer applications, this is going to be the Log4j is going to be around for a very long time because Log4j is in essence a very fundamental piece of software that everything that uses the internet, all the applications they touch, they use Log4j. So basically, Log4j is just a record of activity within a system or an application. So anytime you log into a system and do something, a log record uh, is created. So it's like the captain's log from Star Trek. And an example, like all of you know, like, oh, yeah, you go enter your password into eManifest or any other application, and it clicks back. Oh, incorrect password. Boing, that event is logged. You log in. Boing, that event is logged. So anyway, there's a vulnerability in this logging software that allows a malicious user to basically put some code in to take control of a system. And this could mean you take something offline. You could inject some code in there to steal or access sensitive information. Since this is going into the system logs, then they can sort of just about do everything. So Log4j is a huge vulnerability. There's people that sort of the IT, we'll call them brain trust, the experts, the brains behind internet security. They're all saying this is bad. And what we do to account for software vulnerabilities, the same thing everyone does, is you update software. So all the applications and stuff that we depend on and use, they have been patched. So what they did was like, okay, the initial Log4j has, we got initial patches out there, and what we do is, and unlike updating an iPhone or a Android application like Angry Bird or something like that, it's a little more difficult than updating and patching software applications. A little different than updating, but essentially it's the same. It's the same principle as you want to keep things running, but you also want to secure for the Log4j vulnerability. So we are all patched up now, thanks in no small part to our security as well as our developer team for doing all that. However, this is a huge vulnerability, and this is going to be around for a very long time. So we are all patched up for now. All the applications we use are patched up for now. However, as more vulnerabilities are uncovered, we will need to do more patching. And that is to say, I can't, and this is one of those areas where it's not like, okay, they're going to do another patch in a week or two. Nobody, and this isn't just eManifest or Rick for Info. This is everybody. So as you see, like iCloud and Amazon Web Services, Minecraft, which are sort of the three biggest things going on the internet, they use Log4j. Everybody uses Log4j. So everybody's going to be patching for a very long time. So this may impact software delivery if instead of being able to test out new functionality and do some code, do some upgrades to the system, we might need to take that development effort to patch for Log4j vulnerabilities. It doesn't seem like that way in the near future. However, we're now going to have to count for any sort of impact that may have in our software delivery timelines. So yeah, things look good. We can get something finished 3 months from now. However, that is with the caveat that, hey, we don't have another round they didn't discover more Log4j vulnerabilities in our I don't know, AWS. And so AWS is saying, Amazon's saying, okay, you got to put in these patches. So we don't really know yet. So that's just another way of saying stay tuned and sit tight. And also just general security practice. Make sure you keep your own business updated. And speaking of security, I think we can go to the next slide. Oh, next slide. All right, yeah. So the eManifest bill pay interface. So this is a sort of a callback to last month, but right now, so if you're paying your bill using the pay.gov interface inside of eManifest, you can now use a debit card the same way you use an ACH payment. So there's basically no limit on the amounts, just like ACH, if you enter a debit card into the widget. However, that $24,999.99 limit remains. So Debit and ACH, you can go through the moon in the widget. However, the Treasury has set a hard limit on credit card payments as $24,999, and we reach out to them and keep them in, see if they're going to move that, but that is something Treasury decides, and right now it's not moving. All right, we can go to the next slide. All right, so yes. RCRA Info will be implementing additional security measures. Okay, so those of you who follow executive orders, big fans of executive orders out here, will remember in May, the president signed the executive order on improving the nation's cybersecurity. It says a lot of things in there, but essentially it requires all federal agencies to implement multi-factor authentication. So we are all used to multi-factor authentication with our banking and different applications. That's where you log in with your username and password, and then whatever you're trying to log into, in this case, my bank, will send me an email or a text of a unique code that I enter to complete the authentication. This is two-factor authentication. One factor is your username and password. The other factor is the code that is emailed to you or texted. However, this has far-reaching and far-ranging impacts. And it's not just eManifest and RCRA Info dealing with this. This is the entire EPA and other governing agencies. We know right now that we need to implement multi-factor authentication. However, we know it's coming. We don't know when or how it's coming. So we are working this internally, and we are following government best practices on this. And as we know more, we will keep you informed, because a lot of people logging in are on this chat, and this impacts everybody who logs into eManifest and RCRA Info, myself included. So yeah, we will keep you updated. And I think, is that it? All right. Yeah, I'll pass it back to David. Thank you all very much.
All right. Thank you, Steve. While there is a lot going on, unfortunately, this is kind of a short webinar. So as usual, thank you for signing on. Of course, here is a list of useful contact information as well as useful links, such as how to subscribe to our listservs, the eManifest program website, epa.gov/e-manifest, of course, the FAQs webinar link to, of course, the recording for these webinars, and of course, our GitHub repository. So we're going to stay on the line for a little bit longer, answer any questions that you might want to throw into the chat. But if we don't hear from you, thank you, and look forward to talking to you again next month.
Dave, it looks like we've got a couple questions in the chat, and Scott, I think the first one maybe you're best suited to answer as far as security around Log4j and our credentials for RCRA Info.
You don't need to change your credentials. We didn't detect any intrusions with this. The Log4j went out like to basically everybody in the community. As you saw, it affected Minecraft. And if your kids play Minecraft, upgrade it. But so we were being proactive with this, and we continue to be proactive as we get the alerts. We're working to make sure we patch it. So thank you for the questions. It's a great idea to change your login credentials and update your passwords, at very regular intervals. But you do not need to because of this. Like I said, we're being proactive. So thank you, Brian. And thank you, Brian, for asking the question.
So it looks like we have another question from Mike C. The question is, many of my company's waste generators received an email in December with the subject EPA site IDs without a site manager and for RCR info. What's up with that? Great question, Mike. That email was sent out, email blast was sent out, of course, in December, as you said, notifying generators whose sites shared a similar email domain address as other sites. So essentially notified current site managers of other sites within their company that do not have a site manager and RCR info. And of course, as we all know, without a site manager and RCR info, you have very limited access to your data, your site details, as well as that manifest data in RCR info. So we encourage people to, one, get registered, of course, if they need to, obtain the necessary permissions, and take a look at your data. We found, of course, we've been talking about data quality for a while now, and we're encouraging generators to get in there and take a look, make sure if there's any corrections that they need to. Of course, they can submit those online in RCR info. So, good question, Mike. Thank you. So, got another question here from Catherine Johnson.
Sorry, I was on mute. David, yeah, I was just answering the question, and I didn't realize I wasn't answering the question. So, David, thank you very much. Yeah, so sorry. Catherine Johnson asked an excellent question: what is the process for uploading a manifest into the database, which has a temporary ID number, parenthetical Maryland? It's possible for the manifest to be uploaded and linked with an existing company generated ID. And I did have a question back, but if let's say that ID has been given out, but for some odd reason it's not in RCR info, that ID will be once the ID is in RCR info, the manifest will be matched with and it'll pull back. As for if it's a temporary ID, I think I'd need a little more if you're trying to merge IDs. I would need some more information of why a piece of land has two IDs, if that was the question you were asking. But if the ID doesn't exist in the system yet and later does, it can go on the manifest. It was brought up as an issue that could happen when we're going live. So thank you. David, do you want to take Mike C's follow-up question?
Yeah, I can take that. The question is, I understand that hazardous waste generators are expected to use the e-manifest system by June 1st, 2023. What should generators be doing to prepare for that? So generators, if by expected to use the e-manifest system, if you mean expected to electronically manifest hazardous waste shipments, there currently is no deadline for when everyone, including generators, needs to go fully electronic. That being said, we do highly encourage all generators to, again, as we were talking about earlier, to register, get access to their sites, and get in there and start looking at their data, as well as start looking at the potential of electronically manifesting. Of course, we highly encourage that.
Dave, this is Brian Gross. I just wanted to mention that David is absolutely correct. There is no mandate for generators to begin using electronic manifest in 2023. We discussed in the user fee rule that if e-manifest adoption didn't reach a certain, I think it was 75%, we would then begin discussions or try to figure out how we might improve electronic adoption, perhaps even moving to a more aggressive fee methodology. It's essentially, I don't know how that methodology works, but it essentially would increase the costs for paper manifest usage. But again, the e-manifest Act certainly does not mandate that users use electronic manifest. They can opt out of e-manifest and use paper. We only require that those paper manifests be submitted to the system by the receiving facilities of those shipments. Thanks.
All right. Doug from New York talked about how users can change their password. Yes, you can go to the Central Data Exchange. You can also click the Forgot Password link. You can wait till it expires, but you can also go into your profile, which is when you log in, your top right corner, you see your name, your first name. You click on it, click profile, and you can change your password there. So if you want to change your passwords, it's always good to have good health in changing your passwords. So in every system that you interact with. So David, do you want to take David's spam filters?
I tell you what, I think we can table that one and we can circle back around to it from the February webinar.
Okay.
Scott, did you already answer the question from Catherine Johnson and Jen Hopper? I think they're asking about how you enter temporary IDs in the database.
Well, Jen's saying Maryland does not enter temporary IDs. So, and she's the Maryland person, so I don't want to overstep there. All I was saying is, like, if you have an ID and it's not yet in RCRA-Info, you can put it on the manifest and you can upload it into the system. And when that ID comes in, because nothing stops nothing stops the manifest. So if you have that ID, you should put it in. And also, if you have an ID, put it in. Like, don't put CE squeegee if you have an ID. Put the ID in. Even though you may be a CE squeegee, still the ID gets it to the manifest to you in the system. So I don't know if Jen's on, but maybe that's something that she and BG&E can work on separately, offline.
Awesome. Thank you, Scott. So I don't see any new questions in the chat at the moment. So without further ado, thank you everyone for joining us today, and we hope to see you next time.